This is Andy Purewal for Boxing Social, and I'm delighted now to be joined by promoter Frank Warren. Frank, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm all good, thanks. Good to hear you doing well. You've officially announced it today. We're back here at the Royal Albert Hall on the 8th of March. How does it feel to be able to bring boxing back to such a historic venue?
It's fantastic. You know, it's a magnificent venue. I mean, it's a beautiful, plush venue, but more importantly, there isn't a bad seat in the house. And when you've got a really good fight on, the atmosphere is as good as anywhere. It's a fantastic atmosphere.
Well, how would you compare this atmosphere to maybe a stadium fight? So, for example, go back to Warrington-Frampton. How would you compare what you expect on the 8th of March to the atmosphere we felt on that night?
Well, I mean, that was a special night, and it was a special atmosphere there. But, you know, we've got some good fights on the card here, and I believe that we're going to get a great atmosphere here. I mean, I remember bringing Naseem Hamed here, and it was like probably one of the best nights in boxing for me, as far as atmosphere was concerned. The place was jumping. It was like a party going on. It was like a rave. It was brilliant.
Let's start working through the card then, and we'll start off with Daniel Dubois going in with Razvan Kajanu. Razvan obviously fought Nathan Gorman on that Warrington-Frampton card. Is this the fight which you wanted to make for Daniel because of the fact that he couldn't fight him previously and he had to pull out for injury, or was you looking at other names for Daniel for the first part of this year?
No, I thought, you know, as you say, Daniel was due to fight him, but unfortunately he got the flu, and that's how comes Nathan fought him. He'd been in with Parker, he'd gone the distance with Parker for the world title. Was it a couple of years ago?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, he fought Luis Ortiz.
Yeah, so he went the distance with him. So for me, that's, you know, for a guy who's only had 9 fights, was quite a bit of a step up for him. And you know he's durable, we know he's big. So for me, that's a fight that I want to see Daniel in. I want to see him in with guys at this stage of his career, and let's see how he handles them.
Do you feel that as for Daniel, who will look at that Gorman and Kajanu fight and maybe feel, I want to try and better it and get a better result for myself?
I think he's a bit more, you know, maybe he may in the back of his mind, but at the end of the day, it's what happens on the night. It's how you react on the night when the guy's in the ring. You know, we know you know this fella's a big lump. You know he can look after himself. I'm sure Daniel will be looking to try and knock him over. But what I want to see Daniel do is box.
Nicola Adams as well, fighting for her first world title. How excited are you to see her in the ring with Machino on fight night?
It's a tough fight for her. I mean, she's had 32 professional fights. Nicola's had 5. So she's doing our sort of female Lomachenko, isn't she? She's stepping up very quickly to fight for a world title, and you know, I think we're going to have a bit of a special night here. It's the first time I believe that there's a woman's fought at the Albert Hall. Certainly first time a woman's fought for a bona fide world title at the Albert Hall. So, and it's International Women's Day, so it's going to be quite a special night for her.
Did you know about International Women's Day, Frank? Or?
Of course I did.
What is the plan with Nicola? You know, if she wins, she picks up her first world title. Is it unification fights, or is it to try and step through the weights to see how many world titles she can win in different divisions?
I think the first thing is to hopefully get through this fight. I mean, we're not thinking above that, but I know that her ambition is, look, she's won 2 gold medals in the Olympics. Her ambition is to be a unified champion at a couple of weights. She's told me that. So that's what we're trying to make happen for her, but she's got to win the fights to do that.
Liam Williams as well, defending his British title against Joe Mullender. How come you guys opted to give Liam this defence for his first middleweight title defence?
Well, Joe was looking for a big fight, and he's got a big fight in fighting Liam. He's a tough guy. He said it himself. His wife's got a better jab than him. He is a fighter that you know is going to be standing in front. You don't need to be trying to punch him out. So he knows what he's got to do, and I think he says it himself. I'm going to try and drag him down into a fight, so you know you're going to get a fight. And Liam in his last fight against Mark Heffron boxed extremely well and done a fantastic job as far as he was concerned. So now this is his first defence of that title.
Liam mentioned in the press conference he can see his future being back at light middleweight or super welterweight. What conversations have you had with Liam about that?
None really. I mean, the name that we always talked about is this fight, but we'll see what happens, what opportunities arise for the winner of the fight. Let's see who wins the fight. He's got to come through the fight first of all.
And Johnny Garton, any names yet for us?
No, they're working. We had a name, but he fell out of bed, so they're working on that. But he's, as you know, he's a great competitor and a fantastic bloke, got good crowd support. So we'll be looking for a decent name for him.
Then the final one on this card, Archie Sharp, his first fight since that terrific performance against Leon Woodstock. How much has his stock itself risen since that performance?
I think it has. It was a great fight. He went into Leon's backyard and won the fight and boxed extremely well. Leon's coming back now on the 23rd of February in Leicester. He wants to be back in the mix, but he's the guy that came away with a prize, and now he'll be looking to cement his status in British and world boxing. He's got a tough fight. It's 2 undefeated fighters again, so I'm looking forward to that.
Is the plan to try and make that Sam Bowen fight for the win? I know Woodstock's actually called Bowen out recently as well.
Well, we're in a fortunate position that most of these guys are with us, so we'll make sure these fights do happen between them all, winners and the losers.
To touch on a few other things which are going on in the boxing world, we'll start off with the biggest heavyweight on the planet after the performance with Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury. What is the latest with those talks? Any updates for us?
No, not really. We're progressing, and hopefully we'll have an announcement over in the next couple of weeks. What's
been the slight delay, I should say, maybe making this fight? Has there been any talks with Wilder's team to make that unification with Anthony Joshua, or has it been solely yourself and Deontay Wilder's team trying to negotiate a deal?
No, not really. Well, Tyson, first of all, was on holiday. He took time out. He went on holiday, had a break. We only sat down a couple of weeks ago, so he's told us what he expects, and that's what we're negotiating towards. So that's where we're at the moment.
I saw he was doing a shoot with GQ magazine yesterday as well, and he looked in phenomenal condition. Did that surprise you yourself to see him still in such good shape?
Well, it didn't, because I had lunch with him a couple of weeks ago, but I was shocked when he came in. I mean, he is in phenomenal condition, and that tells you about his mindset and how seriously he's taking the sport. As, his own words, normally over Christmas he'd put on 3 or 4 stone. It looks like he's lost a stone since the fight.
With that rematch, does it have to take place in America, or have you had any conversations about maybe bringing it over here?
We'd like to get it here, but common sense tells you that's where most money will be generated, so that's what we'll be looking at.
Obviously, I know my colleague asked you about it briefly, but never had a chance to go into a bit more detail about it. Dillian Whyte, anything going on there? Any conversations?
No, I've not spoken with him at all.
What would be your thoughts if Anthony Joshua decided to fight Jarrell Miller instead of Dillian then?
Well, if I was Dillian Whyte, I'd be very, very disappointed if that happened. Probably he could probably give you his views on that better than I could, but I'm sure he'd be very disappointed.
And also, when you touch on Josh Warrington and Kid Galahad, what is the latest with that and the purse bids?
The purse bids were postponed by the IBF because of a legal matter, and they'll be looking to reinstate them fairly soon, I hope, so that we can get on with it.
I know that he's got to have a mandatory to hold his title. Would you guys ever discuss maybe vacating so we could have the Oscar Valdez fight?
I'd love to do that. Valdez fighting in first week of February, isn't it? Yeah. First or second. See what happens after that. Who knows? Anything can happen in this sport, as you know. The fact is, let's be honest, Josh wants big fights. He wants big names. He wants to fight Valdez. That's what he's looking for. That's one of the boxes he wants to tick. My concern now, especially after Carl Frampton mentioned that he thinks he was a better fighter than Santa Cruz and so forth, whether any of these fellas want to fight him. He's done exceptionally well. He's done fantastically well for a guy that wasn't fancied by certain sections of the press and media. Against those last 2 opponents, he's done it phenomenally well. He's an exceptional fighter.
When you signed Josh, did you know just how good he could be, or just what he could achieve?
I fancied him to beat Selby. I did think, listen, I would have made a birdie to sign him, and I paid a premium to ensure he came with us. And I'm delighted he did. And we've got a great working relationship. It's worked well for all of us. And I just want to make sure now that he gets what he wants, which is to become unified champion.
Josh obviously beating Carl Frampton on the night. Have you had any conversations with Carl in terms of what he wants to do?
I have, and Carl wants to indicate he wants to carry on. So we're looking at some options for him, and hopefully we can be making an announcement on that in the near future.
He has said he'd love Leo Santa Cruz or Oscar Valdez fight himself. Are they the only 2 fights that could draw Carl back?
Well, he says he doesn't want to go back to he doesn't want to go down. He wants to fight guys at the top of the game. That tells you all you need to know about Carl. He wants to fight the best.
And we recently had Billy Joe Saunders mandated to fight Demetrius Andrade for his former WBO world title. How excited are you to give Billy Joe another opportunity to fight for that?
Well, I'm pleased that the WBO put him back made him the mandatory, although I'm still absolutely pissed off that he had to vacate his titles because of that ridiculous decision, or whatever you want to call it, from Massachusetts. At the moment, Andrade is holding his belt. He didn't fight Billy Joe Saunders to win it. He fought, I can't remember his name, a guy from Africa who was pretty... Akaba, which...
sorry, Akaba was his last defence.
The African, and Akaba, Bill's already beaten him. So, until he can't even seriously think he might have the belt, but he can't seriously think that he deserves that belt because he didn't beat Billy Joe Saunders. So now that fight will be made to happen.
What did you make of Andrade and Akavov?
What did you make? You see it? I think I've said Billy Joe Saunders on his day is the best out there. There's no doubt about that. He showed that with Lemieux.
Do you feel that Billy's a bit of an avoided fight in the sense of his style, and that maybe some of the other guys wouldn't want to touch him?
When they talk about his style, it's not like he's some sort of boring fighter. He's a fighter who can box, and he's a very difficult, and he's got a good boxing brain. What he is, he's an exponent of the art of hitting and not being hit. That's what boxing's all about. And he is, like Tyson Fury, and they're exponents of that. They've got a great boxing brains.
Well, Frank, I appreciate your time. I know you've got other people waiting to speak to you, so thanks for being to Boxing Social.
Thank you, young man. You look after yourself.